Questions abound over placement, preparedness and pressure on schools. Tonight, Education Principal Secretary Amb.Prof. Julius Bitok will address the fears, the facts and the future of learners under the new system. That is, Education Affairs reporter Andrin Kilemi had a sit-down with him on this and much more. Take a look.
Good evening and thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of Events 2025. My name is Andrin Kilemi and tonight we take a closer look at a year that has been full of change, challenge and significant milestones in the education sector and particularly in the basic education sector. And so tonight we do not just want to reflect on what has been achieved, but we also want to know about the person who has been steering some of these major reforms. And as I am speaking about none other than Professor Ambassador Julius Bitok, who is the Principal Secretary for Basic Education. Thank you so much, Prof, for this opportunity this evening.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be part of this conversation this evening. Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for having us. All right, and to you, our viewer back at home, I'd love you to be part of this conversation. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms. That is on Facebook, TV47 Kenya, on YouTube, TV47 Kenya, and on X is at TV47 News, and you can find me at Kilemi_Andrin. Now, Bwana PS, before we get into the finer details, allow me to start with what is a dilemma for many parents in the country, and that is the issue of the grading system, the new grading system. And they're asking, how effective is this new grading system and how sure are we that our students will not be disadvantaged when it comes to placement?
Well, Andrin, and very interesting question. Just to begin by saying that there is no contradiction or disadvantage in the new grading system.
Yes.
You know, one problem we have is majority of us have a number of KCP. And we are trying to bring the KCP grading system to KJSEA. KJSEA is a totally new curriculum, totally new method of assessment. And just to let you know that in competence-based education, the focus is not examination or assessment. The focus is on competencies, is on talent, is on the capabilities, in the competences in a certain field. So when you look at the grading that is coming with KJSEA, it is not a traditional ABCD. Because in KCP, the grading was, when you do very well, you get a grade A, which is like 80% plus. Then B, then C, then D. That was KCP. But in KJSEA, the assessment is both qualitative and quantitative. For example, if you look at the categories of grading for KJSEA, we have the top grade being exceeding expectation, which is EE1. That is a description. That is not a grade, it's a description, exceeding expectation. It is like in KCP, you say outstanding or excellent in a KCP. Is equivalent to exceeding expectation. It has 8 points. If it is exceeding expectation, which is EE1, is 8 points. Exceeding expectation 2 is 7 points. Then we have meeting expectation, which is ME, and then ME1, which is 6 points, and then meeting expectation 2, like that, and then approaching expectation, and then below expectation. So in competence-based education, these are qualitative descriptions, just like excellent, very good is exceeding expectation. EE is like excellent. When you say EE, you don't mean E, the grade. You mean very good or excellent. All right?
And so that...
And when you say ME is very good.
Yes. And so, PS, that is why I am calling it a dilemma, because many parents do not really understand this new grading system. What is the ministry doing to sensitize parents, teachers, and other stakeholders in the education sector to understand how really this grading system works?
Okay, first of all, to begin with, this is a new system.
Yes.
And we expected parents to ask a few questions. It was expected. And through Kenya National Examination Council, we have generated what we call frequently asked questions to just explain some of this. But what unfortunate thing is that sometimes some people on social media try to mislead the public that your child has gotten an E because it's exceeding expectation. It's an E. It's misleading. And as a ministry, we are doing everything possible to explain and to be able to tell the public that the grading has changed. We are no longer looking at the traditional grades of A, B, C, D, E. We are looking at exceeding expectation, meeting expectation, approaching expectation, below expectation. And our objective here is to test the capabilities of a child, whether they are good in a cluster that focuses on STEM, whether they are going to focus on arts and sports, or whether they are going to focus on social science. So it is really a way of trying to give you an opportunity to assess yourself. Which area are you good in?
PS, you personally oversaw the administration of this first national examination under the competence-based education, and this could be one of your biggest assignments since you took up this docket. What was the experience like?
Well, it was very interesting. For me, coming to Ministry of Education, coming to basic education was coming home. You know, I started with foreign affairs, I went to interior, now I'm home. You know, I'm a teacher by training. And I have come back home to be able to manage things which I really know. Of course, at the PS level, you do a lot of supervision, a lot of management, but it's a very exciting space to be in a space where my colleagues, I left them like almost 20 years ago. Now I'm with them, I'm joined with them. I was able to wake up very early in the morning, open the containers, go to class, give out the papers, go to the marking centers. It's been a whole amazing experience to be able to be part of this first Kajasea class. This is the firstborn class of competence-based education. It's really very exciting. For me, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm in my element in this space, and I like it.
What were the challenges?
Well, we had a few challenges here and there because of there were some people trying to compromise examinations here and there. There's a lot of challenges coordination with other agencies, coordinating with ICT ministry, people trying to trying to replicate exam on social media, trying to give a lot of propaganda that the government is not doing the right thing. Those are some of the challenges. But at the administrative level, of course, there was a challenge also. There was a delay also in the money for administration of exam and those kind of things. But overall, I think we were able to overcome all the challenges and ensure that we delivered a credible 2025 examination for Kajasea, for KAPSEA, and for KCSE.
PS 2025 has been quite a year for the basic education, and particularly when we speak about the funding of education, capitation, which has been top of headlines. We've seen school heads lament that capitation is always delaying to get to schools. And sometimes when it gets to schools, it does not even get in the right amount. For example, we know that primary school learners are supposed to get at least 1,420 shillings. Those in the junior secondary school, at least 15,000. Those in senior schools, at least 22,244. So sometimes this capitation delays, and when it gets to schools late, it does not get in the right amount. Why do we always have this issue of delay in disbursement of capitation?
Well, I want to say that first of all, the government's policy on free primary and free day secondary is intact. It has not changed. The government is committed to ensuring that we continue having free primary and free day secondary education in Kenya. However, I want to admit that there have been occasional delays in capitation, and particularly for this third term, which we have just concluded, there was a little bit of a delay because we undertook what we call school data verification. We wanted to verify to know the number of students we have in our schools, to know the number of schools we have, to know which schools are where. But what I wanted to assure the learners and the parents is that going forward, we have now a system called Chemis that is going to ensure that we have accurate numbers of students in class, we have accurate number of schools. It's a very agile system. It's called Kenya Education Management. So that system is going to help us really manage this issue of numbers so that we reduce any inefficiencies within our system.
All right, and we'll be speaking about the transition to Chemis in a moment. But right now, I'd like to hear from you. You said one of the things that caused the delay in disbursement of capitation, and particularly for third term, was the verification exercise that the Ministry of Education was undertaking. What were the findings?
First of all, even before I go to the findings, I want you to get the background of this verification. Okay. The Auditor General did a special audit and presented to Parliament a report saying that we must confirm the number of learners, the number of students in primary, the number of students. So based on the directive of the National Assembly Committee on Education, then we were forced to verify, to confirm. And as we speak now, we are trying to cross-check. We are sending our teams to the ground to confirm really the numbers so that we give a very accurate position in as far as numbers is concerned. But I want to confirm that there are variances in numbers from what used to be the numbers for capitation and what we have now. But we're trying to really fine-tune so that we don't give don't give a misleading report. But we are trying to finalize, and soon a report will be released to that effect to ensure that all Kenyans know how many learners are in primary, how many learners are in secondary, how many learners are in
So as we speak right now, there is nothing to report on what came out of the verification exercise.
We have data, but as I've told you, we are cross-checking and verifying and trying to confirm.
Then why is it taking long for this verification exercise to come to an end? Yet this depends, or we determine whether a school receives capitation or not. Don't you think some schools are suffering as they wait for others to be verified?
I want to say that all schools have received their money. All schools in the country, whether it is primary, whether it is junior. And all schools also have submitted their data to be verified digitally. But when we receive some data, we have to send some officers physically to confirm really the data they have sent, and we have sampled quite a number. And what we are working on now is not really new verification. We are trying to reconfirm the data that we have, and we're saying we don't want to release a report which is not accurate. That's why we have to reach out to the ground.
What are the timelines?
Well, I want to believe that by January we should be able to have very robust report that will be presented to the National Assembly as they directed, and all Kenyans will be able to see the report also.
Okay.
Yes.
P.S. How is the Ministry of Education working with Treasury to align their financial calendar? Because I know this is one of the biggest challenge facing education, bearing in mind it is one of the sectors that receives billions of shillings, 702 billion shillings this year. So how are you working hand in hand with the Treasury to ensure that this delay stops?
Well, I want to say that we have a very cordial relationship with the National Treasury, and we are engaging them continuously. And even as we speak now, we have already put in a request for capitation for January, for next year. And we did that at the beginning of this month, at least 4 weeks before the beginning of the term. And Treasury has assured us that education is top priority in this government, top priority. Our capitation request for January is 44 billion for primary, junior, and secondary. And we already put in there. And this morning, I was consulting with the PS Treasury, and he told me they are doing everything possible to ensure that at least before the new year, we have that money in our account, so that come January, all our schools will have their money on time. So we have a very solid working relationship, and their priorities are very clear. And I want to call upon the teachers and the parents to ensure that they give us the benefit of doubt, even as we go through some of these challenges. Sometimes delays are not because Treasury likes it, but because of other financial commitments, including debt, including Eurobond and many other things that Treasury pays. But for us, we are keen to ensure that we send our requests as early as possible, at least 4 weeks in advance, which is really enough time for Treasury to be able to mobilize the required resources. So on my part, we are also working hard. Initially, we are thought that we can realign the 50, 30, 20%, 50%, 30%, 20%. But on engaging with Treasury, their commitments is a moving target. They keep on moving. So we have told them that we shall be requesting for capitation during the periods when the pressure is not as much. Like now, we are asking for 50%. And the second time, we're asking for 30%. But if there will be a period in between when there's not much financial commitments on Treasury, we can ask for the 30% so that we don't have to wait. So we are so much aligned, and we are engaging in continuous consultation with them so that we get it right and we get money when it is required. Because sometimes you get to a point where there are too many commitments coming at the same time. So that's what we're trying to avoid as education, so that we get the flow of money coming regularly.
All right. Now, let's go back to Chemis. And it's one of the projects I think you are very vibrant and aggressive about. But at some point, ni kama moto ulididimia. I don't know why. You could be telling us about it. But what measures are in place to ensure that the challenges experienced under Chemis are not repeated with Chemis?
Well, let me begin by saying that when I joined the State Department for Basic Education, I was fiery about Chemis. And I am still. I am still. You know, Chemis is a product of the recommendation of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms. They recommended that there are challenges with Chemis and that we need to upgrade that system. Why? Because Chemis is not an intelligent system. It was a bit a rigid system, not integratable to other systems. That is why we needed to upgrade the system and go to Chemis. And Chemis, in our vision, was supposed to be an entire education sector system that covers basic education, it covers higher education, it covers TVETs, it covers all the agencies, National Examination Council, Teacher Service Commission. It brings everybody. It becomes a one-stop solution for education. When somebody tells you I've gone to school, you click on Chemis, you can see where they went to school, where they went to primary, where they went to college, where they went to high school, where they went to university. And that is the vision. And I'm there. And as we speak now, we are working hard to ensure that starting January 2026, Chemis will be live. Our operational date, by the way, is 9th of January. We are saying the system will be live. We are working on the back end now with CONSA, Minister of ICT, and other stakeholders to ensure that we have a vibrant system that cuts across the entire education sector. So I'm still there. With technology, you can be able to get a solution that solves all your problems, solves issues to do with money or other financial issues. It solves issues to do with identity. It solves issues to do with cheating for examination. It solves issues to do with examination or other certificates fake certificates, and so on. It becomes a one-stop solution to all the problems we have in the sector using technology. That is why we are very excited. And I'm very excited about it. It is really a game changer.
We rarely see it nowadays, but let's go by your word. Buona PS, when we speak about CBC, and you have mentioned it right now, that it is meant to grow skills in a child. And it is what was meant when CBE came in place, to be holistic, aimed to be an equalizer. But as it is right now, the divide is deepening, and especially among those who have and those that do not have. So do you think CBC is living up to its promise?
Well, I want to say that the government is doing everything possible to equalize or to create equity in the education sector. I agree with you that by and large, in some areas, some rural areas, the exposure to education is not as equal. It's a fact. Whether we like it, we don't like it, it's a fact. So what competence-based education is doing is trying to equalize, is trying to give every learner a chance. That is why we scrap the issue of national schools, extra-county schools. There's still a traditional obsession.
Yes.
But we are saying with CBE, if your pathway is STEM, you should be able to go to a school that provides STEM. If your pathway is sports, you should be able to get to a school providing sports and arts. If your pathway is social science, you should be able to get to a school which provides social science. Now, how do we ensure that we create equity? This year, we have adopted the formula for revenue allocation, CRA formula, to be able to create equity. That formula takes care of the performance of the child, takes care of the population of the county, it takes care of the geographical size, it takes care of the poverty index. And we have been able to apply this formula so that we create a fair playing field, so that every learner, when you are in northern Kenya, when you are a child from northern Kenya, you should be able to have equal chance to get a school like a child from, say, Western or Western Kenya, or even Nyanza, or even Central Kenya. That is the equity we are trying to. And I want to tell you something. Competence-based education is the best education system that this country could ever have. And this is the education system that is going to transform Kenya from third world to first world.
Yes. And even as we transform from third world to first world, we cannot speak about competency-based education without really speaking about the issue of infrastructure. What master plan is there to ensure that we do not encounter challenges of infrastructure?
Well, let me say that it's a fact also that the schools which were started earlier have more infrastructure. But the government is doing everything possible to invest, including building 1,600 labs, which is underway now. We are building 23,000 classrooms. We're trying to build the capacity of the schools so that all the schools become equal. But there's still some attachment to the traditional big schools. Like now, when you get to my phone, you have so many parents saying, we want this particular school. I don't want to say the name on TV because I'll be unfair. We want this particular school. We want this particular school. My child is saying he wants this school. That is the thing we're trying to really eliminate. And it's going to take time. But what we have done also is, with results of Kajasaya now, we are going to place the students and then give parents and students a chance to revise their choices. If you ended, for example, a certain school, school X, and you get school Y, and you still think you have the grades that can take you to school X, you'll be given a chance to revise, all right? And you're not going to be given one school. You're going to be given quite a number of choices that school WXY are the same as that school. Why don't you choose one from this? So that we reduce that pressure. And again, we give our learners some latitude to decide which pathways, which schools they want to join. So I'm confident that in the fullness of time, competency-based education will equalize our country on matters education. It is not easy. It requires huge investment. It requires huge vision. It requires a big heart, and we are ready to walk the talk.
Yes, there was a promise on JS teachers and permanent contracts. They have now lapsed. What next?
Well, the President William Ruto, has pronounced himself on this issue. First, he said, I've listened to you, JS students. I have heard what you have said. And I plead with you. And he gave us a directive that because the JS students have been given a 1-year contract, extend that contract by another 1 year. And in the next financial year, provide resources so that JS students can be confirmed on January 1st, 2027. So we are extending 1 year, but we are going to give them the first priority. So starting July 2026, resources will be provided in the budget to confirm the JS teachers on 1st of January 2027. So the president is very clear in his mind. He has asked the teachers teaching JS to be patient with the government. The government is doing a lot, including employing 100,000 teachers. And the resources are not enough. So be patient for 1 year, and you will indeed be confirmed in the next financial year, that is starting on 1st of July 2026. So we put the resources in the budget of July 2026 for confirmation on 1st of January 2027. I needed to make that very clear. On the other issue of autonomy, the government is also very clear. According to the Presidential Working Party, they said we have a comprehensive school model, which is an international model, where we have primary school and we have junior school. The comprehensive school is under one principal, with 2 deputies. One deputy principal in charge of primary, another deputy principal in charge of GS. So it is a middle ground for this issue of autonomy, all right? Because of also the amount of resources required.
Yes, I know earlier in this interview you mentioned that coming to the basic education docket is like coming back home. But you were used to rubbing shoulders with the elite at the Ministry of Immigration. Do you sometimes miss Nyayo?
Nyayo was also a very interesting place because it was my first station as a PS. And for Nyayo, one thing that I'm so happy about is I was able to transform the issuance of passports. Passports used to delay for 3 months. But while there, I was able to move the processing of passports to 3 days. And I'm really excited about that. I was also able to introduce ETA. I was able to introduce e-citizen and move it from 300 services to 20,000 services. So I look at the migration with some nostalgia.
So you miss.
Well, I don't know whether it is.
Yeah?
I don't know whether it is a miss or it is a what. It is something like that.
Okay.
Not exclusively missing.
Okay.
Because you see, we are one government, all right, and I'm really happy to be in education because I count myself a privileged person to be serving as PS.
And so when
I was also very happy to be in immigration, and you know, we serve at the pleasure of the president. Yes, we serve at the pleasure of the president. So I was very happy to be there. I'm happy to be here, but I don't know whether I'll be. I don't know where I will be taken next. But I'm ready to serve in government anywhere.
Okay. So, P.S., when you're not attending meetings, when you're not working on education reforms, what do you like doing during your downtime?
Well, I love politics. Yes, you see. One thing why I enjoy this work I do in education is because it's about the people. It's about the contact. It's about the children. So I am very excited at listening to people, talking politics, and once in a while going to play golf because I'm also a golfer. I play golf when I'm relaxed. But more importantly, I love interacting with people. All right? I play politics, I talk politics, I enjoy interacting with Kenyans, listening to Kenyans and so on. That's what I do Occasionally, when I have some free time, I play a lot of politics and empowering people. Politics of empowerment now. Politics of empowering young people, listening to them, seeing talent and so on. And also reading. I read many books. All right. Like when I was ambassador, my target was reading 100 books per year.
And did you have
and I was achieving that.
What
right
are you
now,
currently reading?
Right now, I was reading, I was repeating again, this from third world to first world, this Singaporean book. It's a very interesting book. And it has many ideas. You can look at them. I was also reading the ones, Why Nations Fail, all right? The one by some Americans. There are quite a number, many of them. I love reading.
As we wind up this conversation, what is that one thing, just one, yeah, that you'd like to be remembered for, even as you exit this docket one day, one time?
I'm not about to exit though, but...
Yes, that's what I said, one day, one time.
But just in case it comes.
Yes.
One thing I would want to be remembered for is streamlining. Two things, actually. Allow me to say two things. One, streamlining the systems and the data in education, ensuring that we have the accurate number of students. Number two, I want to be remembered for smooth transition from junior school to senior school. So those are the two key things that I would want to be remembered. So, in as far as system is concerned, implementation of Chemis and ensuring that we have an agile system that is able to really monitor the number of learners and be able to integrate the entire education system. So those are some of the things which I would want to be remembered for. And of course, for decisive leadership in the sector, very decisive. For me, one thing I can assure you, when I have an issue, I make a decision. Whether it is wrong or right, it's a story for another day. But the decision has to be made so that we can be able to move forward.
And it is something we've noted in your style of leadership, even as you took this docket. But even as we finish, lastly, what message do you have for students, parents, and learners for 2026? What should they expect?
Well, from where I sit, I want to assure the learners and the parents that the state of education in Kenya is strong. We are on the right trajectory, and competence-based education is on track. There's no confusion, absolutely. There's clarity on every matter in as far as competence-based education. And in addition to that, competence-based education is the education system that is going to transform our nation from third world to first world. Watch this space. The education sector is in very able hands of our able minister, able PS, and the stakeholders should be confident that 2026 will be a great year ahead on matters education, because education is the equalizer that can be able to equalize our country. We are very committed to ensuring that there is equity on matters education in our country.
All right. Thank you so much, PS, for speaking to us tonight. We appreciate, and all the best.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year. Asante sana Professor Ambassador Julius Bitok, who is the Principal Secretary for Basic Education, for speaking to us tonight, and to you, our viewer back at home, for staying put. My name is Amb.Prof.Julius. Have yourselves a lovely night.